Well, hey, welcome everybody to another Tech Tip Tuesday. My name is Ken Close, Healy World Member USA, engineer and a lover of Tech Tip Tuesday. Here we are, August 13th.
Creator of Tech Tip Tuesday, right?
Well, there you go. All right, thank you. Yep, co-creator
Yeah,
and host. How about that?
there you go.
All right. And I am blessed to be joined by Jake Barron, head of operations in Americas. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Doing great, Ken. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Awesome. Awesome. And we have an awesome customer service agent. Henry is here from the customer service department in the back, in the foreground here. Hi, Henry.
Hey, Ken, thank you so
Yep.
much for the introduction. Welcome, everybody, to Tech Tip Tuesday.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so normally we have somebody from the tech support team helping out in the chat on each of the calls. And Henry started on our tech support team for over 2 years. And if those of you that have been following this call, What's Up Wednesday, Frequencies and Friends, you know that we've started this Healy onboarding program a little over a month ago now. And Henry Pena is the onboarding specialist that kind of runs all of that section there. He hosts all those calls. So, we're still lucky enough to have him on Tech Tip Tuesday, about once a month or so, helping out in the chat. But we thought, hey, when he's on this call, he's on video all the time now for the Healy onboarding. So when he's on here for Tech Tip Tuesday, we said, hey, let's have me, Ken, and Henry live on video on the call. Henry will still, of course, assist for questions in the chat, but the more the merrier on this call.
I love it. I think it's great. Thanks for being here, Henry, and being on camera.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Always happy to help.
Excellent. Well, hey, you guys, you got a special treat. This is the first time for everybody's joined tonight. First time to have live on camera our customer service agent. That's not just the lightning fingers in the background, but also a handsome face here on the camera. So right on, you guys. Thanks for joining. So you guys that are veterans to Tech Tip Tuesday, you know how it works. But let me tell you, for those that are new, first of all, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And also, let me tell you how it works. So this is pretty much an open forum, chat-based. So you guys will put your questions and comments and concerns in the chat. And then myself and Jake and Henry, we will unpack those things. We'll talk about those things. We'll solve those mysteries. We'll expand those theories. We'll make your Healy experience boom to the next level. That's what we're here for. So what we can't do though is we can't treat, diagnose, prevent, or give you any advice on physical conditions or disorders. So we can point you in directions for that kind of stuff, but don't ask any specific questions on bodily things and applications for that. So if that makes sense, hey, I guess I'm ready to get started. How about you guys?
Let's get going.
Ready.
All right, well, let's go, guys. Fire up the chat. Let's see what's going on today. I love it when people have some fun questions. We do get a lot of the concerns, similar ones, but let's see what we got. So Tara's got something here. She says that my understanding is that MagHealy uses or operates with magnetic waves. All right. But what's the difference between that and EMF or electromagnetic field that we all try to avoid? Does the MagHealy emit them? I love this question. You know why? It's sciencey.
Hey, did you tell Tara to put that in the chat to start off the call? I think you.
I'll Venmo you a little something later. Anyway, no, I love this question. Here's why: because I studied wave theory for years, and so understanding EMF, and this is a concept that goes way back to Tesla, by the way, because the way to transmit energy through space, through free space, is through magnetic waves. Okay. And so the way that we get a magnetic wave to actually begin its movement is by creating electron flow through a conductor. It builds a magnetic frequency. It builds a wave. And then that wave just kind of propagates out from that conductor omnidirectionally. So like an antenna. All right. And we've all heard of EMFs, and but those particular three letters used to mean electromagnetic frequency. Also, it had electromagnetic force. Okay, it still does, but it has grown to mean something bad. And certainly not all magnetic waves are the same. Okay, no more than we can say that every car out there is the same, right? You have some cars that go really fast, some that go slow, some that are big, small, different colors, all kinds of different capabilities. And each one of them, you know, can be a potential problem if you crash into something, right? Some of them are, you know, like they all go in the same direction on a freeway. That's kind of a coherent flow of cars. So when it comes to magnetic waves, there are good waves. I don't even like to use that. There are waves of different frequencies that have different purposes. Let's put it that way. A very, very high frequency, or what most people are concerned about, the ones that they fear or have background or data around being harmful, are what we call nano waves, or very high frequency waves. They are somewhere in, you know, that 2.4 and above gigahertz. These are what microwaves use, like what you cook your food with, that kind of thing. You know, 5G uses things around that 5 gigahertz and those upper frequencies. And these are just ways of transmitting a signal over a certain distance, or to have a signal that actually will move through different mediums, like whether it be air or water, or some other dense matter. So let's just take, for instance, in the case of a microwave, 2.4 gigahertz moves in that box in your microwave from one side to the other. Okay. And whatever's in the middle gets bombarded, or it gets influenced by that frequency. Now, here's the significance. That frequency, 2.4 gigahertz, can penetrate through matter, through cell structures, through material form that's in there. But the difference there is that microwave is hundreds of watts of power. Okay. In other words, high power generation to get that same frequency to have enough amplitude to heat anything up. And the reason it heats things up is because whatever's in the middle of that transmission wave is probably got water in it. And that wave slows down when it hits that water. And when it slows down, it creates resistance. When you have resistance with high power, you create heat. A little experiment: put a cracker in your microwave and try to heat it up, right? Crackers are dry. There's no water in them, right? They won't heat up. Why not? Because there's nothing for that wave to experience resistance from. All right. So when we're out here in our world, these frequencies are all over the place, but they don't have very much power. That's where things are dangerous. The higher the power, the signal of the frequency is, the more harmful it could be if it's within a frequency that is incoherent with the system, or the medium, the density that it's going through. Now, let's get back to the MagHealy for a second. Let's get back to the Healy with the coil for a second. Those transmit a frequency of very low power, right? The amplitude's not that high. So even if, well, it does not have a frequency range that is harmful. The Healy transmits a frequency range between 0.1 hertz to 1 million hertz. So 1 megahertz. That's way down there below the 5G and the 3G, the 4G, those frequencies that everybody's afraid of. It's way below those. And they are designed for very specific purposes to enhance cell structure frequencies. Our body has frequencies to it. In fact, let me put it this way to you, Tara. When you have a thought, you have energy that transmits through synaptic connections in your brain. That synaptic connection is electron flow. And when you have electron flow through a conductor, No different than an antenna. You're sending out a magnetic signal. Same way. That's the way we move energy, like I told you in the beginning of this conversation. How we move energy, information from one point to another is through electron flow up a conductor and then emits a magnetic wave. Okay. We never thought you're sending electron flow through a synaptic connection, creating a magnetic wave. Guess what you're doing? Producing EMF. You're producing an electromagnetic force from your thought. Why do you think you can feel people? This is it. This is what's going on. Our body puts out these magnetic waves all the time. Healy just becomes coherent with that. MagHealy has frequencies, and the studies have shown that these frequencies are coherent with that. Okay. So even though it has the word EMF, it's not apples for apples. All frequencies are not built the same. Okay. All right, you guys.
And I love your explanation for that question, because you're right, not all EMFs are created equal or have the same power. And because of the concern over EMF, which a lot of it is, of course, there's a reason for the concern, but it gives the safe versions, the natural things that are going on in this universe, kind of a bad rap, I would say. Oh, it's EMF. Oh, stay away, stay away, stay away. But that's a great question, versus maybe, you see some of these residential buildings or whatever that have these huge equipment right on top, and there's people living right below all this stuff. That's different than using, say, like your Healy and your MagHealy in your house. But
and that's very significant, folks, because we got to understand that when you are near a high-powered transmitter, doesn't matter if it's a radio station that's somewhere in your town, there's those big antennas, or it's a 5G repeater or antenna array. An antenna array is designed to broadcast electromagnetic signals, different frequencies, multiple frequencies, and they're high power. So, and not just that, our high power electrical wires, right, that are way up there on those towers, sending that information or sending that power across many, many, many miles. I don't know if you've ever stood underneath any of those. Just stand under there on a quiet day and listen. Just stand under there and listen. You'll hear the hum of that electron flow going through those wires. So yes, those are producing magnetic waves. I don't recommend you hang around with. I mean, so those are very, very high power. And so, avoid that kind of stuff. But what MagHealy does and what Healy does and the magnetic fields, they're very useful to our body. And not only that, we've heard certain things about Bluetooth, right? It's also that same high frequency, but it's super low power. So as I mentioned, it is the amplitude of the signal that is harmful. Healy uses what's called BLE, or Bluetooth low energy. It's the lowest energy Bluetooth signal on the market. This is why Healy, between the hardware and the phone, the smartphone or the app, can only be about 32 feet, right? Has a very short range. And that's direct line of sight. So if you're trying to go through, say, a wall from one room to another, or through obstructions of people, or from inside your car to outside your car, all of that shortens the distance in which that transmission will work. Why? Because there's not a lot of amplitude to the signal. The signal frequency is still intact, but it doesn't have any power to go very far. So even though it's around your body, it doesn't have a lot of power to do the things to your body that we'd be concerned about. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. All right.
yeah, for sure.
We got one water. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just about to say, this came up. I think it might have only been in the chat, but on our last week's Healy for Beginners and Beyond, the recording of which is available on our YouTube channel at HealyAmericas.com for anybody that was not able to attend live. We were talking about all the trending topics and some of the most frequently asked questions related to the Analyze 2 app. Tons of great information in there, so definitely check out the recording. But I think in one of the chats, there were some questions related to MagHealy and water. And Ken was on the call. As always, Doc Steve made a appearance as well, which was great. But related to the topic of when you're activating water with your MagHealy. So we have the 24 different water application programs, which are all amazing. And the question is, if I'm activating the water with one MagHealy program, can I also transmit digital nutrition mix into the same container? So Henry put a great question into the chat there, but we're assuming that you're meaning if you're vibrating the digital nutrition databases into the same container. So with your Healy device, and then you're also at the same time using the MagHealy. So can you, yes, you can, but I guess the question is, is there a reason that you want to have this cocktail in there versus just focusing on one at a time? Because, throughout the course of the day, Ken, what the recommendation for how much water there is to drink per day, half the body weight or whatever the approximate goal is there.
Half your body weight in ounces of water per day. Half your body weight in ounces of water per day. Right? Yeah.
So, for me, because it only takes 10 minutes to run those MagHealy water activation programs. It's very quick. And since you're supposed to be drinking a lot of water throughout the day, it's fairly convenient to just do a few different ones throughout the day. You have your bottle there. I know a lot of people drink more than, say, a 12-ounce glass at a time. It might be like a 1 liter bottle or something like that, or a 1 liter pitcher. But yeah, just if you're wanting to incorporate more than one type of program into that bottle, I would just do a couple different ones throughout the day and space them out too. Martin Whitman had a great, it was last week on What's Up Wednesday. He did a great training on the water application as well. And near the end of that call, they actually put together a protocol for, I think it was for Vitality, of which MagHealy water activation programs to run morning, afternoon, and evening as well. So that's a great one to follow, but you'll notice it wasn't a combination of all three in the morning and then kind of use that throughout the day. It was a set time period sort of throughout the day to run those programs and consume that water.
Yeah, so Jake mentioned it here too. What I would look at is, what are your goals? If someone is working on a specific physical goal within their wellness program, then we need to look at a self-care protocol. And self-care protocol has a tangible amount of water per day. Okay, so water does hold a lot of information, but I don't recommend putting a huge bandwidth of content in one physical mass of water. Just because when you ingest it, look at the within our Heal Advisor Analyze app, there are various dilutions of information that is being gleaned through the database, whether it be physical, spiritual, emotional, right? Well, when you are ingesting water and you have 100 frequencies in that water, it's diluted quite vastly with each one of those frequencies. So each particle of water will have a fraction of that entire whole. Does that make sense? So it's diluted amongst 100 frequencies for, say, I don't know, 1 glass of water. Now let's say that you just do one program to 1 glass of water. Now the concentration and the intensity of the content of that frequency, of just that purpose, is higher per glass. Does that make sense? So the glass of water has a higher concentration of information, aka the frequencies for the purpose of that infusion, that water program. So if again, it's a good idea to spread it out over your day, because your body ingests water at a certain rate anyway. And if it's diluted with a lot of information, it may get expelled. I mean, your body eliminates what it doesn't need or what it can't use right now. So I like to do different programs to different containers of water based on what I'm doing in that moment, because my body's utilizing it then. Does that make sense? It's just another way of trying to be a little more efficient. It's like, we want to do everything all the time, all at once, right? But come on, the body says, I have a very specific rate of change. Your body shifts itself to the tune of 800,000 cells per second. You're not going to speed that up or slow that down. Your body's going to do that turnover rate on its own. It's its own divine intelligence. So what each one of those cells are using as a resource to build themselves is information, energy. It breaks everything down to energy, including what you've eaten. All of your food gets broke down to the chemical and eventually into frequency, into energy. And then your body uses that accordingly. Now, that kind of transitions over into our next question we have about digital nutrition. Okay. So Marty's asking a question here about, let's see. I'm interested to know your suggestions about the digital nutrition too, where, you know, minerals, trace elements, amino acids, vitamins, all that stuff's located, to use them all daily. So can I use them with the bracelets? In other words, microcurrent, and with the coil, and how many could I do daily of those frequencies that appear? So first of all, we know that microcurrent, right? The suggestion is 3 programs a day. Also, there's a part of his question here is saying, so can I use them every day? And I do not use them when I take my vitamins or supplements. How often a week do I do that? So let me tell you a little bit about digital nutrition, guys. It's not a food replacement. It's not a, you know, your supplement replacement. It's not what you would normally do to support your body. It's not a replacement therapy for that.
And Ken, yeah, sorry, I'll just one point before you go on there, you know, it actually, you're supposed to use them with food after eating a meal, like straight from the actual Healy app manual. You know, before we go on here, you know, this is just one of the, you know, we always refer back to the Healy product manual, refer back to the Healy Academy as well. But this is on page 28. You know, it says digital nutrition programs support the harmonization of your bioenergetic containing the resonant frequencies of the individual substances. These frequencies should be applied directly after a meal. So, yeah.
And so why? Here's why, guys. Here's the understanding. Now, remember, I told you 800,000 cells per second, right? Okay. 3% of the genetic coding that says it's going to be a cell, muscle cell, skin cell, brain cell, whatever, is fixed based on your genetic imprint. 97% of that genetic code is an adaptive gene, reading the environment to understand what quality and kind of cell it should be to support the host. Who's the host? You are. We are. And so when you're ingesting materials and foods and content like that, water inclusive, your body is mapping out what to do with it, right? Your digestive system is, again, creating patterns around every single thing in terms of the chemistry and the frequency. Now, when we send patterns in the body that are coherent with other frequencies in the body, they amplify. Okay, you follow me? It's like a wave in a pool. You drop a pebble in a pool, you get a waveform that gets to start. If you were to drop a pebble exactly the right time to amplify that wave gets bigger. Okay, so this is how you have like waves that amplify. Well, opposite's true. When like waves amplify, that's called constructive interference, right? They are constructive with each other and they increase amplitude. Opposite is true when you have a wave that's opposite of the other. When they crash together, they nullify. It's called destructive interference. Okay, so when you apply Healy frequencies that are of the same type of substance that's already in your body, you're amplifying the signal. Okay, so the concept, the theory is the increase of bioavailability. Bioavailability means that how your body biologically utilizes the signal. So if we can increase bioavailability of something, it's more effective, right? So when you're taking in your supplements, you're taking in your food, your dinner, your breakfast, your lunch, whatever, and you're running Healy frequencies with that, now you're doing what we would call a constructive interference. Okay. And when it comes to the coil, there's really not the same limitation on the coil for running number of frequencies or programs per day. You can increase that. So read your body, folks. You hear me say this all the time. Your body is your measuring stick. If you're feeling the load and the weight and the heaviness of the moment, then reflect on what you've been doing. You know, perhaps you're overdoing it. All right. Okay.
All right. So Henry was helping Marty with some issues. So related to his holistic Healy, it doesn't charge anymore. He said he's tried many times and there's no response. So Henry, in your many years on the tech support side there, I know you've come across a lot of people that might be having charging issues, and you might put a great tip in there regarding checking the cable too, because sometimes that is an issue, especially if you're not getting any sort of light on the Healy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Like one of the things that I've noticed, especially sometimes even through video calls or videos that they send us, is that the very first thing you need to notice is if that light is turning on. If it's not turning on, then the issue is probably not the Healy itself, but the source of electricity. So you definitely want to either try a different outlet or try a different USB to micro USB cable. And remember that you do have the option to connect that USB to micro USB cable to either a power block, the one you would normally use with your phone, as long as it has a USB port, or you can also connect it directly to the USB port of a laptop or computer, and it should also work fine. But definitely try that, and definitely try using a different charging cable if that green light is not turning on when you plug it in.
Awesome. Awesome. And Ken, you have the tip also. You can always try using a power bank too to see if you get any sort of response there. Or maybe Ken, you can talk about from the engineering side, if you have a multi-port USB charging block, maybe one of the ports went bad and is no longer receiving any power.
Absolutely. And as Henry said, there's multiple things that you can use as a resource for what your cord is plugged into, the cord itself. All right. And so those resources from, say, a laptop or to a wall adapter have various outputs. Remember earlier I was talking about amplitude of an EMF signal? Okay. We're talking about the same thing here. The cord is just a carrier, just a messenger, right? Like it's just sending the information from the outlet or the laptop to the Healy. But the source, it's important that source have a good output, right? Some of those outputs might only be a small amplitude, right? So we refer to that as amps or milliamps in terms of the millionths of an amp. So when we're talking about amps, that's kind of like the amplitude, the power, right? They're all the same voltage, right? When you plug into a USB port on your computer or your USB port on a power adapter, whether it's in the United States or in Africa or in anywhere, it's still a 5-volt source. That's what's called USB, Universal Serial Bus. All right, universal voltage. So no matter what we plug into, it's going to have the same voltage. Does not mean it's got the same power. And so oftentimes we run into problems when we don't have adequate power to charge something that may have, by the way, maybe some connection issues there at the port. Okay. So these ports, I don't know. I take my Healy with me everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm on the beach, okay, or if I'm at the movies. Just when you're at the movies, make sure you turn the sound off on your app. It's very disruptive. All right. Anyway, the port can get dirty, right? And just a little bit of contaminant in there, it tends to have a little bit of an issue with connections with the cord. So, I have taken those canned airs, the ones with no moisture in them, just a little quick, clean it out, you're good. But the other point is, whatever you're plugged into, I have battery packs, they're portable battery packs. and they tend to be a higher current output. So I try those. Another option is that, if you've got multiple Healys and the same cord and the same charging block is working with one, but not the other, you can start assuming that the cord and stuff is okay. You may need to do a power reset on your Healy, right? And there's a process for that. There with the FAQs, we have that kind of stuff about resetting and kind of recalibrating the charge cycle with the Healy. I don't know, maybe we can put that in the chat. You can have that little FAQ about how to do that. We've talked about that before. I know it's on some of our Tech Tip Tuesdays. I think we've been demoing it, how to do it. But that's a good thing to do. And then rehearse that charging cycle until that holistic version that you have comes back up to life. Okay. If that light's coming on, it's very rare that there's hardware issues with the Healy itself. We just need to kind of recalibrate and retake a look at some of the things that they're using to power it up.
Hey, Ken, I saw that Sharda actually asked in the chat, since we're talking about the topic, what can we use to clean any debris from the port, the charging port on the Healy? Yeah,
it's important that you don't be sticking things in there.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I early on, I had folks that were, where the wires plug in right there, that were breaking off those little pins in there, right? And that's a bad thing. It's important that you're not poking things in there, right? But there is these compressed air that you can get at a lot of office supply stores, things that you would use to blow off your keyboards or something like that, right? Because they don't have moisture. The problem is even when you blow in it with your mouth, there's moisture from your air, and moisture in there can corrode the conduction, the terminals and the connections in there, and that's not good either. So we want to use things that are safe for low voltage circuit boards, and there is such a thing. And just a quick spritz. Don't sit there and all day long. Just a quick spritz and you're done. More is not better. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you could, like I said, the local office supply store, if you go on Amazon, you'll find a million of these. They're a couple dollars each. They have these days, if you just search for compressed air duster or something, there's a lot of rechargeable ones. So rather than going through a can or whatever, you have these little tiny ones that will recharge and give you good results as well too.
The most delicate systems available on the market are the ones that are made for blowing out your computer. Okay. And the reason is because your computer has very sensitive circuitry. Even the touch of your finger on some of the components within the motherboard will blow it up, right? Because our bodies hold thousands and thousands of volts, right? Not a lot of amps, like I told you before, the power isn't there, but a lot of volts. How many of you guys have ever walked across the carpet floor and grabbed a doorknob, right? You got a little shock. Anybody ever done that? Especially in the wintertime or cold environments? Static electricity. Okay, that's your body collecting electrons from the movement of your body, whether it's your clothing or the carpet or the surface that you're moving across, collecting and storing like a battery electrons. And when you touch something, you discharge that. And I don't know if you've ever seen a little spark come from your finger, right? Yeah, well, you might be magical, but if you're not magical, then what that is actually it's a discharge of stored energy in the body. And to jump an arc, just 1/8 of an inch, just tiny, requires 10,000 volts. So think about how much power you're holding. And when you touch a circuit board on a computer, you fry it, right? So there is equipment out, there's air canisters that are out there made for computers that do not transmit moisture and do not transmit electron flow. So they would be safe for your Healy. All right. I saw another part of a question here about the McMakin programs. Where is that?
Yeah, I think it's the one from Tara that basically, I believe from what I understand, the question she's asking, what would be the difference between running a program using the Healy versus using the MagHealy if both programs have a similar purpose. For example, one that is addressed for skin.
Yep. Great question, by the way.
Mhm.
Great question. And so understand that the MagHealy came out as a support structure for Healy, right? But with a very unique difference. And the unique difference is the reason we have the McMakin programs on there is because of the unique difference that was built into the hardware. And that is the dual frequencies transmitter system. There's two simultaneous transmitting systems in there that can send two frequencies at the same time, right? And that's the key thing around what Carolyn McMakin has designed is she's created a system in which there's one frequency for the issue and one frequency for the tissue, right? I love the way she puts that. And if you guys want more information, amazing book that she's written called The Resonance Effect by Carolyn McMakin gives a lot of detail about what frequencies do and how they work and how our bodies interface with that. I highly recommend that book to get a better clarity around that. But the difference is, again, the MagHealy is sending two frequencies at the same time, and it's magnetic energy. It's magnetic energy, okay? Magnetic energy has a different modality than the wristbands because that's electron flow, okay? Electron flow is going directly into the body through the contact surfaces of the wristbands or the sticky pads through the wire. So it's like a closed loop system, right? Healy sends a signal out one side, goes all the way through your body and back in the other side of the Healy. It's a closed loop system. It's electron flow. And what's on the electrons are like a carrier wave, like a pail carrying the frequencies into your body to deliver them directly to matter, material form. So there's no real interface, or I should say conversion. It's going right into electron flow, body's reading the signal and implementing the content right into the cells. When it comes to magnetic energy, remember what I said earlier? Magnetic waves going through the air need a conductor in order to collect that magnetic wave and induce electron flow into the conductor and then download and decode the information. When it comes to magnetic waves, the body, is the antenna. It's the conductor, right? It's the conductor. It's the one that collects the magnetic waves, and then your body decodes that information from magnetic wave into electron flow through your nervous system, through the water in your body, right? And then your body utilizes the information. So there's a transfer from magnetic wave to electron flow. Okay, a little bit different. And again, another difference is that the MagHealy can send out two frequencies at the same time. Only the McMakin programs do that, though. The other programs don't activate that dual frequency system.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked a little bit about on Healy for Beginners and Beyond last week about sort of incorporating all the different Healy modalities into a sort of a routine. You know, of course, you can vibrate programs, you can use the cables and, you know, get the benefits of the microcurrent, you can use the coil, you can use the MagHealy. And if you're working on a particular topic, I would say, you know, why not use both? If you're looking to choose between the Healy and the MagHealy, not necessarily at the same time, you know, you can alternate. Maybe one day you run this program with the Healy, with the electrode, so you're getting the benefit of the microcurrent. And then, as you know, Ken mentioned earlier, then maybe the next day you alternate and use a similar type program with the MagHealy as well.
If we look at what Healy has created, we need to look at it in three categories, right? The physical body, right? This is the tangible nuts and bolts, tissues and organs and cells and systems, the tangible body. The electrical body, this is measured when people do an EKG or an ECG, they're measuring the electrical body. And then you have the quantum body, right? The body that's in the quantum field. I should say, Einstein called it potential, right? And it requires a consciousness to solidify that potential into material form. So Healy interfaces with all three. The Heal Advisor Analyze system bridges the gap between the quantum field information of you and the biological field information of you. Okay. And the magnetic systems, which is whether the coil or the MagHealy, they do a middle ground kind of interface with the electrical system of you. And then the microcurrent is a tangible three-dimensional matter-to-matter connection to the body, which it also increases, it changes or interacts with the electrical system, but it's more closer to tangible matter. Okay. So there's three categories in which it's working. So I use all three categories to influence my health. All three. Why not? We can.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We did, by the way, a Healy for Beginners and Beyond just on quantum entanglement, which would address that quantum field U and this biological 3D U.
Yep. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it too at the beginning of last week's Healy for Beginners and Beyond as well. So we can put the link into the chat. I think we're caught up on questions because Henry's been helping out Marty in the background here in the chat. So while we have a minute, let me.
Yeah, it looks like Marty was able to try the cable with his professional edition, and it seems like the professional edition is working. So in this case, it would definitely be best just Marty for you to contact our technical support team right from our website. On the bottom right side of our website, you'll find the live chat function, because they will honestly be the ones who are going to be able to diagnose the issue more in depth. So definitely recommend that.
So let's try something also, Marty, if you haven't. I don't know if you guys are chatting about this in the background, that reset function. Did you guys talk about that? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So you've done that. And now remember, if you've done that reset, that reset on the Healy with it not plugged in, then you do the same thing with it plugged into the power cord. And you can, when you press and hold that button, you know, when you plug the power cord in, the green light comes on anyway, right? Okay, when you press and hold the button with it plugged in, you'll see the intensity of that green light shift at that timed interval of the reset. And when it does that, when it's plugged in, it can give you another level of basically reset, but you got to then leave it plugged in until it goes off. Okay, which means it won't happen while we're on this call. So give that a try this evening or later today with the Healy plugged in to your power cord. Press and hold that button until you see the green light intensity shift up a little bit. Let it go and then leave it alone. Leave it alone until that light goes off. Now, if you go back to your Healy tomorrow and that light's still on, okay, we may be looking at, you know, a very tangible problem. But if the light's off, then give it a test drive and see if it's any better. Okay. Let's see. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're finding this content and these links in there useful, save the chat. If you're on your computer or your laptop, right, there's three little dots there in your chat window. Click on those. It'll give a drop down to where it says save chat. And when we're done with this call, you'll get a message on your computer screen that says save chat. And then you'll have all these links and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I just put the link to last week's Healy for Beginners and Beyond into the chat here. But for those of you that aren't familiar with our Healy World Americas YouTube channel, you can get to it by going to HealyAmericas.com or using the channel Healy World Americas within YouTube itself. And you'll see the first video here, Healy for Beginners and Beyond, trending topics and FAQs related to the Analyze 2 app. That's the most recent video that was added. And then Ken, maybe you didn't even know this, but the Spanish version of that call is also available. The entire call, not just a segment or two. The whole call is available here as well in Spanish also. So very cool. We had a lot of people from our Mexico and Colombia teams on the call too, and had a lot of requests for the recording, so we were able to make that available also.
You know, I'm going to go and listen to that version and check out my Spanish. It'll be like,
Yeah.
pretty, I can speak Spanish.
Yeah, pretty good, Ken. Yeah.
We both do, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, what other questions we have?
I actually saw that Tara actually asked a really great and very frequently asked question, which is whether you can start running a program and then turn off your Bluetooth or turn off your phone or walk away from your phone while your program is running.
Yeah,
yeah, you can go ahead, Ken.
that's a great question. I love the creativity of folks. There's the cool thing, like I said earlier, you've got that Bluetooth low energy signal. So once you load your program and it's running from your smart device, you can actually hard close the app, and the Healy is going to stay running because the entire program was loaded onto the Healy, right? So it doesn't need the app anymore to do the function. Now, you won't be able to change the intensity. So, if you're plugging along with your program and all of a sudden you're feeling some sensation, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I need to turn it down a little bit or whatever. You'll have to go back, open the app. Now, here's some significance here. When you go back and open the app again, back on your smart device, it's going to reconnect your Healy. There's going to be a continue, you'll be able to continue. And if you continue, it's going to pull up the program you're running. And you say, oh, continue that program. You say next, don't turn it off. You say next. It's going to pull that same program up exactly in the timed interval that the program has been running all that time. And then you can make adjustments, right? You're not resetting the program. You're just basically coming up next to it, and the app is just realigning with where the Healy is in the present moment, and then giving you an indication. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, the other way you can do that is you can actually turn the Bluetooth signal off within the app. And that also shuts it down. The difference, though, and I want to make sure people understand this, if you shut the Bluetooth signal off from the Bluetooth off function in the app, it turns the Bluetooth chip off in the Healy. And so when the program is done, your Healy goes off and it's all done, and you go back to try to reconnect, it won't. You have to hit the button twice. Remember, you have to hit the on button twice. So tap, tap. Okay. Otherwise, I've had people call me, oh, my Healy is broken, it doesn't work. I was like, no. I would say, okay, well, wait a minute, what'd you do different? Well, I turned the Bluetooth off. Okay, now we know. Okay.
Exactly. Another thing I wanted to say in regards to that is that you actually don't need to necessarily go back to the app if you don't want to, because you can always come back to the app if you see how long the program has left. But the way you're going to know if your program is still running is by that green light. It's going to be blinking. So if you start running your program and you close the app, what's going to happen is that the Bluetooth light, which is the blue one, will turn off, indicating that now the Bluetooth connection between your smartphone and the Healy has been interrupted, but the green light will continue to blink, which indicates the program is still running. Once the program is over, you're going to see that green light turns off.
Yeah, and it's important to know too, folks, that like, let's just say you're one of those folks that starts the program and you hit your stopwatch, right? It's a 52-minute program. You hit your stopwatch, you turn the Bluetooth off, and so the blue light's not blinking anymore. Healy's still running, green light's flickering, and you're going about your day, and you go and you look at your Healy and it's not running. You look at your stopwatch and it's only been 48 minutes. Hey, wait a minute, something broke, right? Not necessarily. I want you guys to understand that when you choose a program, you'll notice it says maximum duration, 52 minutes, right? Doesn't mean that duration's fixed. When Healy is interfacing with your body, it's measuring your body. And if there are frequencies in your body that come to full resonance, it'll kick those frequencies out of the routine for the program that you're running. If your body accepts all that content and winds up full on with all those frequencies, your program can stop early, right? Healy doesn't give you what you don't need. It's better for it to stop early when your tank is full than it try to run over, right? I love that about Healy. All right. Okay, so let's see. Tara's looking for some information on the programs. It's saying here that some programs on the Healy have very little information on them. Where can I find more information and longer descriptions? Well, our content that we have a 47-page owner's manual. That's the most elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for, there is not a detailed description for every single program. Some of the, if you look through the product manual, notice some do have a couple sentences, a paragraph, and other ones are really just kind of the name of the program, or this program helps support the bioenergetic field or harmonize the bioenergetic field of this. If you've looked in the product manuals and you're looking for something beyond that, there are some of our flyers that are available in back office or the download section of Academy, or the flyers or the brochures. There's certain, like the bioenergetic violization, that kind of thing. There's some things have a little bit more information on them, but there's 200 plus programs, and Healy operates in 50 countries, and it's in order to be compliant around the world. There's just certain programs where we can't say everything about the certain programs in order to stay compliant with everything too. So it's, of course we would love to have a detailed description of every single program, and we've come a long ways. A lot of the programs that didn't really have descriptions early on at least have something now. So I think that'll continue to get better, but it takes a lot of time to clear everything in the regulatory areas in each of the markets where Healy is available.
And that's what I've found to be true across, not just Healy, but across the manufacturing spectrum. Regulatory agencies are here for your safety, right? But they always err to the cautious side, meaning it takes a while to get things through. And so it takes a lot of diligence, and Healy's still doing that diligence. And what can be said in another market versus ours is different, but yet, being a global company, like Jake said, being compliant and consistent. I've seen the information from other countries change drastically because of that consistency. Our regulatory systems are here for our safety. And of course the manufacturing companies have to abide by their regulations. So, there's other areas you can look for, Tara, in regards to some of the Facebook groups, and maybe there's other practitioners out there that have done their own work. Again, it's their work, not Healy's. But it's their work, and they may have some content that they could share.
I mean, in the manual itself, specifically for planets, it's it's in the Bioenergetic Defense program group, and the description says harmonizing the influence of planets. So I mean, it's
basic. Again, they use the word harmonizing on purpose.
Yeah.
I do think it probably has to do with any sort of astrological influence that the planets, just like the moon has influence, and the way that we interact with, the way the moon and the planets in one way or another interact with the Earth. So I'm pretty sure it has to do with those astrological influences too.
Yeah.
Remember, Healy's purpose, Healy's job, Healy's design is with your body, not out everything else. Okay, it's with your body, and it's working to align everything else with your body. Okay, in other words, if there's the wind blowing in your face and you put up a windscreen or a shield, you slow down the wind in your face, right? So Healy's that shield, that interface, that connection, that system that is working with your body. It's working to harmonize your body. So whatever the influence is outside, planets, water, digital nutrition, whatever, it's working to bridge and harmonize. Remember what I said? Constructive interference, right? Improving and increasing amplitude of frequencies, alike frequencies with your body's nature, right? Not trying to replace anything, but just to amplify and improve everything. Okay. We need to look at it.
Yeah.
We're so used to taking a pill for something sometimes, right? It's not that. It's not like that. It's a signaling system, similar to our new nutritional products, right? It's a signaling system to signal your body to do specific things in the morning and at night, right? To amplify what your body can do on its own, which I love that. Okay.
Yeah, you know, on the topic, you know, if you're looking at just let's just take the name of the program group itself, not the program, but Bioenergetic Defense. And when you look at the title of the group and it says it's meant to energetically harmonize negative influences and protect you from energetic breakdowns. Okay, then you apply that to the influence from the planets, and you know that in general, that's kind of what you're doing. You know, in some cases, it doesn't necessarily need a detailed description for everything, because it is somewhat general as far as the universe goes.
You're getting an umbrella description from the category itself, and then specifically to what? Planets, right? So like I said, it's working with the influence that our external astrological systems would have on the body. You know, I do want to back up for a second, back to Marty and the concern about, you know, the charging. He did mention in here the use of the cord that came with the Healy, the little short guy. And I have many of those, by the way. But it's a really good idea to get, I have several of those USB to micro USB cables, and I like to use good quality ones, right? Heavy duty ones sometimes. The ends are the same, but the materials that it's made out of is not. And so you're going to get higher quality ones. When we pay $1 for something, you get what you pay for, right? But it's a good idea to try a cord that's longer so that you can actually set the Healy flat, you know, and not be disturbed. Remember what I said earlier, that little port there, when you plug the cord in, if you wiggle that around, you may see that green light go on and off, on and off, on and off, right? Well, that's an indication there's something going on in the connection. So another cord, the inside of those cords are very small little pins, very small. And the more we use them, the more they actually rub material, right? Conductive material off those pins. So it's just a good idea to always try a new cord. I do that. I mean, as an engineer, we never rely on even a new component as being proper unless we measure it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was last, maybe to finish with this one here, but there was a question about like what is cosmic growth recommended for and when to run and with what frequency. So, you know, cosmic growth, or actually we've done a few trainings on it in the past. I think we had a Healy for beginners and beyond, but
I just shared it there, Jake. I shared the link for the What's on Wednesday, where we had our special guest Pamela Vida, where we went over how the cosmic growth work and how it has to do with the Fibonacci sequence.
Great.
So you're gonna be able to learn everything you need to know about cosmic growth. You should be able, you know, that video goes pretty in depth in regards to that particular program.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Henry. And then, yeah, there is this flyer too. This is available in the download section of Back Office and Academy on cosmic growth. And it has some cool information about the purpose of this particular program as well. And again, you can, of course, reference the training that Henry posted the link for also in the chat.
those are both great information, and don't just do one or the other. Do both.
Yeah.
Look at both of those because you get a little bit more content. So last question here I want to run. I know respect you guys' time. That there's questions about the cord itself that I was just talking about. It's called a USB to micro USB. That's all you need to know. And then you can just decide on how long you want. They come in, 1 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot. I don't know. They have different lengths, but it is a standard USB to micro USB. They're all the same. Okay.
Yeah. And before you go buy one, if you have a drawer with a bunch of miscellaneous cables from prior devices and things, a lot of us have a ton of these sitting around, different lengths as well. So you might have one already that could possibly work.
Usually old phones used to have it, but worst case is now you don't have one. Pretty much any store sells them. Even sometimes pharmacies, retail stores, tech, department stores. It's very, very common cable.
Get a good one. Get a good one. All right. All right, you guys. Hey, thanks for being here. Henry, it's good to see you.
Same.
Look at all these handsome guys hanging out with us tonight. You guys, I mean, you're blessed, right? So thanks a bunch. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for What's Up Wednesday, right? Customer service is in that chat as well. Anything you guys want to close with?
No, thanks for joining us. And the recording will be available on our YouTube channel that we showed earlier, HealyAmericas.com. So you'll be able to go back and reference everything that we discussed tonight.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Have a great evening. Don't forget, save that chat. Click, click, click.